So Murtoch is alive. What the hell? I thought Murtagh was supposed to be killed in the Battle of Colloden. Now, it was really frustrating in the first episode. I felt there was so much stuff missing. Now Murtagh just disappeared during the battle. No mention of him was made. Now, I know there was a reference by Jamie asking if anybody had seen him, but it was very frustrating the way they left episode 1, not knowing what had happened to him. Now all of a sudden in episode 3, there he turns up in prison. So what does that mean? Is the scriptwriter going to create a bigger part for him? Or because it was my original belief that Murtagh was to be killed off, but it seems that he may have a bigger role to play. So my first question is, did he actually run away from the Battle of Colloden? Was he a deserter? That's not made clear at all. My second question is, how did he survive the 7 years after the Battle of Colloden? Because I know that the British were putting ex-Jacobites to death, and it's only after a period of 6 or 7 years that they then decided that they won't put them to death, but just put them to prison. So I don't know if there's going to be a follow-up to this down the episodes, but it would have been interesting to know how he survived the battle. Did he run away? And how did he survive the following years after that? And in fact, how did he get captured? Now, it's interesting to note at this time that the British banned all tartan. You also weren't allowed to play bagpipes, and you weren't allowed to wear your clan kilt. So they tried to erase Scottish history and anything which might stir up the Jacobites again. Now in the book, one of the prisoners actually has a piece of tartan, and he is caught, and they were going to flog him. But Jamie steps up and says actually the tartan is his. So he volunteers himself to get flogged. Now this scene was completely missing in episode 3. Now I wonder if the scriptwriters felt that there was just too much flogging going on and that poor Jamie had received enough. Now it's actually Murtoch. You know, I can never pronounce his name properly. Some of these Scottish names are real tongue twisters. It's Murtoch in prison that actually has this piece of tartan, and Jamie takes the blame for this. Now you'll also note that in prison they refer to Jamie as MacDo. So it was an old tradition to call people by their hair colour. Now in Jamie's case, he was called Red Jamie, but they didn't want to call him that in prison, so he was called MacDo, which means son of the black. It turns out that Jamie's father had pitch black hair, and that's where Jamie got his nickname. So MacDo in Gaelic means son of the black. Now another interesting thing that's cropped up in episode 3 is what happened to the treasure. Now we know that there's treasure on this island, but we're not actually shown that Jamie swims across to it. It's inferred to it by the soldiers, but in the book I believe that there were several islands, and Jamie went across, almost died in the efforts, and inspected all the islands and actually found a lot of treasure. But this is not very clear in episode 3. So how do we find out about this treasure? Well, the soldiers actually stumble upon a sick man, delirious, along a road by the name of Duncan Kerr. And in his rantings he mentions the word gold. Of course, the soldiers get very suspicious and decide to take him with them to Artsmuir prison. Now in Artsmuir prison, James Gray gets Jamie to interpret what this man is saying, because the guy is speaking in Gaelic and in French, and the British soldiers couldn't speak either language. So of course Jamie promises Gray that he will tell him everything that he's translating. But it's after this event that Jamie actually escapes, and he goes on the hunt for this treasure himself. So it's only when Jamie decides to give himself back up and returns to Artsmuir prison that he presents John Gray with a jewel. Now, he told John Gray that he didn't tell him a lie about the gold. So we know that Jamie's telling the truth, but we also know that he did find the gold. So what does that mean? Well, I do believe that the British were looking for the French gold that was promised to the Jacobites. And and I have a suspicion that the gold he found wasn't French. So yes, Jamie didn't tell a lie, but he did find the gold. Okay, so we now actually have to question what gold this is. It's obviously not the French gold. Now there are several teasers as to where this gold could have come from. Duncan Kerr, in his delirious state, mentioned the white witch, which got Jamie's immediate attention. Could this have been Claire? Was this her gold that she was bringing across through time? Or, if you really want to throw a spanner in the works, Gayless Duncan. Yes, now I thought that she actually had died in the previous seasons when she was burnt as a witch. But it seems that her character is coming back quite strong in upcoming episodes. Now, we all know that she was collecting money to help the Jacobite cause. Now, if you really want to go left-wing on this, could this be Ellen, Jamie's mother? Could this be her gold that she's hiding? Now, why do I think that this could be Jamie's mother? Well, Duncan Kerr did mention her name along with White Witch. So what's Duncan Kerr's connection to Ellen? Now, it's possible that Duncan Kerr was actually the protector of this gold. And since the Jacobites had lost and there was nobody to hand his gold over to, I think he was trying to seek out Jamie so that he could rightfully take over the gold. Now, we actually don't know much about Jamie's mother because she actually dies before the timeline of this actual series. So it's hard to try and figure this one out. No doubt people who have read the books will know what's going on here. So which one of the three women was responsible for placing the gold on this island? Well, I suppose we're not going to know now until the following episodes. Now, I have a question for some of the Outlander fans here. Why does everybody hate Claire's husband, Frank, so much? I mean, it's ridiculous. Now, I don't understand it, because in this series, this guy cannot do enough for Claire. I mean, you can see he really loves this woman. And not only that, he took Claire's child in, which is not his. And I love this child like his own. So I just don't understand it. There may be a difference in the novels, the way he's portrayed, as opposed to the series itself. But it would be very interesting to get some feedback as to why people dislike him so much. Now, I actually take my hat off to this actor, Tobias Menzies. He's really good at portraying the two different characters in this series. He's a phenomenal actor. Now, I know that Sam Heughan is the sex symbol in this series. However, Tobias Menzies is very underrated in this, and I think he's done an excellent job. And I'm surprised that women haven't taken to him. As an actor, he had me completely convinced of his two different roles. Now, on a complete side note, it was interesting to note as well that Murtagh is actually not a Scottish actor. I can tell you what, I was almost convinced that he was Scottish, but that he's not. Maybe somebody can tell me where he's actually from, because I heard him in an interview the other day and he definitely did not sound Scottish.